The interesting about the score and the idea behind the score is that it's both a burglary and an armed robbery. They burglarized, went in on the prowl the night before, and bypassed all the alarm systems. And then they're going to go in during the daytime and do an armed robbery. And the alarm systems are, with a timer on them, are timed to be bypassed at a certain moment when the robbery is going to occur.
Don't move! Don't fucking move! Put your hands in the air!
They're realistically prepared and equipped to take down an armed robbery in broad daylight in downtown, where there may may not be a police response, but if there is, they're equipped to meet that response and assault an ambush. They have sidearms. They have long guns. These are Car 15s, the carbine or collapsible carbine, paratrooper version of the M16. They're wearing body armor, and they're carrying on them a realistic amount of magazines, spare magazines. So really, the way they're equipped, the way they operate tactically, is military, and it's military methods and tactics derived from close quarter combat in urban situations. So there's a lot of tactical veracity to all the details that have been built into these guys, and then all the training. And in the featurettes, you'll see some of the training. And when you do, I would ask you to pay particular attention to Bobby shooting on the range, because there's targets that are falling down. There's steel plate targets, and you hit them with a round and they fall down. In some of them, he's shooting at 25 and 30 yards with a 9mm and with a 45. And anybody who's done any shooting, will know how difficult it is to do what he's doing and how good all these guys got. And that informed every aspect of their movements, of where the ends of their weapons are pointing, the direction the guns are pointing, how they're moving, how they're holding their guns, raising it up as he approaches Chirito, who's a member of his crew, where they cover from, how they protect each other's backs, how they handle their feet, where they place their feet when they turn from the left to the right.
Hey, Casal. You guys working the case on the Neil McCauley? This CI Hugh Benny called in about a bank they're looking at or something?
Vincent! Far East National Bank, 1130.
And the machinations off-screen of Waingro have now resulted in tipping off the police about the robbery. And Waingro got this. We don't know where Hugh Benny, who was tipped off by Waingro, where the information came from. All we know is that we might suspect Trejo, because he's the one guy who's not there. And we'll find out later. They're succeeding the robbery. They're coming out. And ex-con Breeden, who's been now recruited to replace Trejo, is driving, and it's all anticipated to be a walk in the park, because they are unaware
Okay, we're gonna have to take him in the car.
that
They are all in. Get clean shots. Watch your background.
incoming is Vincent Hanna, who doesn't know what stage in the robbery he's likely to encounter.
Police, move!
So they're going to try and clear the sidewalk quietly and unobtrusively and move in until they can get a visual and see what the status of the robbery is.
Get down.
And Hannah's not a cowboy. He's not going to act irresponsibly. On the way in, they're going to try and get as close as they can.
Get down.
But then the training would be such that the reaction to shoot has no hesitation in it. Val just comes up with the weapon and lets go. Now, they're trained, skilled. This crew knows what it has to know, which is that they've been ambushed. That the police are coming in, and more police assets are going to come in with every second that clicks by. So what's paramount is two things. One is that they get out of there as fast as possible, and two, the way out. Since they have superior firepower in terms of automatic weapons, is to assault the ambush. There was an incident in which some of the technical advisors I was in were in a vehicle in Northern Ireland when they were ambushed by provos, IRA provos, and they were outnumbered and outgunned, and they didn't hesitate. They shot right through the windshield and assaulted the ambush in front of them, and that's where this idea came from about Neil's first reaction. And then they're going to lay down fire while the other crew members move. So they operate in coordination with each other as a small combat unit. The vicious power of weapons and of the damage that even a 5.56 millimeter round does and can't do to a human body, I wanted to dramatically demonstrate in terms of the wounds, if you like, on the cars. These are all factual wounds in the sense that we took the cars out to the range and shot them full of holes, then bondoed over the holes and repainted them. So then when we set off the squib, it's the bondo that blows out, revealing the holes. So the holes were made from these rounds. And since the war in Iraq, which you see a lot of cars on the news being shot up, we're now actually used to seeing the damage that these rounds do and the terrible damage they actually do to a human body, the flesh and bone. Sizemore's weapon is a 7.62 millimeter. Casals wounds Chris, and what Neil McCauley is going to do, is lay down a lot of rounds to suppress any of the police who would dare venture out from behind the cover of their cars to shoot at them anyway, to lay down a lot of rounds to suppress the fire so that he can get Chris out. Distinction between Neil and Hannah is apparent right here. Neil's a sociopath. He cares about his friend Chris, but he doesn't care about you or your friend. And he'll lay down a lot of rounds and fire that he knows will force Hannah, who's not a sociopath, into protecting people and not firing through crowds, and Neil will indifferently shoot through people to effect his escape. Some of the key architecture I had in mind in building the character of Cerrito as a family man. He's a loving father, loving husband, loves his kids, but he doesn't care about your kids. And that's like the definition of criminality. So he has zero empathy and thinks nothing of making a shield out of a little girl. Hannah's first thought after he shot Cerrito is also indicative, and I found this an important reaction. And that was to understand the trauma of the little girl and get her out of there. The impact of what happened. There's Paul Moyer, who's an actual Los Angeles local newsman. The impact upon what happens now impacts upon the women and the parallel domestic stories that are interwoven with the crime story and police story. So at this point in time, everything is fused and became one, whereas I would digress from the crime story, police story, to bring all the different people home to their wives, their families, so that there were almost like two channels the film was operating in. That's now become a dialectic of the two channels have fused.
All right, hold him. All right.